Welcome to Drinks Coach. I can't remember what number this is, but welcome back. I've been doing loads of bits on Instagram as I go out, and I'll continue to do that. So welcome to anybody who's found the link from Instagram taking you directly here. This is the Drinks Coach UK, and my handle is at Vinesack, or lowercase. This one's about rosé. Somebody asked me, is there anything else that you should drink apart from Provence rosé and maybe Rioja rosé? Maybe not that stuff in California. I'm like, of course. There's rosé everywhere. And some time ago, in fact, a very kindly PR lady, Annie Lim, in conjunction with one of our greatest importers in the country, John E. Fells, sent me a box of rosés. There was a couple of roses in there which I think were pretty more suited to a different strand, maybe. But in light of the fact they sent them to me for free, I thought this would be an opportunity to try some of these drinks, maybe some of them unseen. I haven't tried some of these wines before, but to tell you a little bit about the broader reach of rosé. Now, when I film this on my camera, sometimes you get a perfect focus on the bottles and you get a blurred wadsack in the background. So I'm going to kind of lean in. So that way, there we are. It looks a little bit kind of crisper. There we go. Yeah, nice tea towels, huh? I think so. So what we've got here is a rosé from Spain. We've got a rosé from Madeira. No shit. Yeah, seriously, Madeira. And we've got from Ep12 Rosés. Guess what that's made from? And we've also got a wine here, which is quite fancy. Only fancy because it's quite pricey. But that's a Tuscan rosé, a rosé from Chianti. And it's made actually from the main grape there as well, amongst other things. So without further ado, let's try these wines, okay? We'll try and make this one nice and quick, but it's fun, right? And I'll tell you where you can get these from, what they cost. This is Jean Leon 3055. Now, Jean Leon is a mega successful winemaker who has vineyards, premium sites, literally all over Spain. Is one of the great kind of one of ours Spanish wine producers. He reminds me a bit like Gérard Bertrand in France. He used to be a rugby player. Everyone knew him, and he's now approaching being a billionaire in his wine causes. He's got vineyards everywhere as well, but specializes in the south of France. Well, Jean Leon kind of specializes, or at least started specializing, in Penedès, which is right up in Catalonia, in the sort of far northeastern or the southern coast of Spain, not north, the southern coast of Spain, but up towards France. And the number, which is rather cool, Jean Leon, he used to be a cab driver in New York. And this was his cab driver number, which I think is really sweet, right? That's really cool. Anyway, so what would this possibly be made from? Well, you wouldn't have thought that Pinot Noir was in it. Yeah, mostly Pinot Noir. I think it's Pinot Noir in Garnacha rather than Pinot Noir in Tempranillo. This would set you back about 15 quid, although prices are now rising. Yeah, suck up the extra pound because you're going to have to. But you're available on Amazon, on Simply Wines, but cool label, right? 15 quid. Spanish rosé, but it's not rosado from Rioja. It is from Penedès. What do you think? What's interesting here, and I think it's a very key point, is if I'd done this tasting in any time before 5 years ago, in any year I would have done this tasting, these four wines would have looked completely bloody different. But I don't know if you can tell, but from my side, with the spotlights behind the camera, these are all the same colour. Now, you wonder why that would be. Well, it's because Provence pulled one of the greatest tricks in the world, and that's saying that the colour of their rosé is a sign of quality. And because they can only make pale rosé, because it's made from big, thin-skinned varieties like Cinsault and Garnacha, everyone thought, well, the darker the rosé, shit it is. And it's not true, right? It just isn't. And rosés now have to be very careful about their colour. It's kind of like, I know Botox becoming popular, and everyone's now having to use Botox just to toe the line. It's not right. People should be allowed to make those wines naturally. I used to love going into the rosé section of a premium wine shop and seeing all the different colours of pink and cerise and so onion pink and all those different colours. They're all the same now because they figure that the customer will only buy wine if it looks a bit Provence-ish, which these do, right? Okay. So shame on you. Shame on a lot of you for falling for it again, whatever. Lovely mouthfeel. You've got the mouthfeel of a Pinot Noir rosé in a warm climate. What does that mean? Okay, you've got acidity, but the acidity is not searing. Pinot Noir rosé, if you look it up online, you'll probably get something like Sancerre or anything from England. They're very high acid, But they're very high acid, not because they're made from Pinot Noir, but because they're made far away from the equator. The further you go, the less sunlight is, the slower the ripening, or less sun hours that the grapes get. So grapes start off very green and acidic and lower in acidity and increase in sugar over time. So if you're going somewhere like Penedès, where you get a nice George the Hamilton the fourth kind of tan, sort of like, a white teeth, big tan face, then you're going to get wines which have got far less acid. But this wine is not lacking acidity. But again, the key point about rosé, the reason why I think we love Provence rosé so much is it is indeed lovely textural wine, but it is low in acid. It's got the acid of a red wine, and it's got the texture and freshness and flavour and quaffing nature of a white wine. Why would that be? Well, it is a red wine. Okay, how is rosé made? I ask 1,000 of you. Here you, saying, yeah, I can hear 1,000 of you saying, so how is rosé made? Can we just cut that last bit out? Thanks. Cheers, Ted. Okay. If you get red grapes, with some exceptions, but not exceptions that count very much, if you squeeze the red grape, white juice comes out. So if you're going to make a red wine from Shiraz, you end up with a white wine if you're just going to press it off the grapes, because the juice inside, if you peel a Shiraz grape, it's white, it's green inside. In order to make a red wine red, you have to put the skins in. You have to put the cap and the crushed grapes actually in the white juice that you've got. And as the white juice starts to ferment, the sugar turns to alcohol. The alcohol then bleaches to colour out the skins, bada bing. So after 24 hours, you've got a rosé like this. After 3 weeks, you've got a red. Okay, that's it, all there is to it. There are other ways of doing it. You can, of course, mix red and white wine together. European Union takes a fairly dim view on that. There are lots of wines made from red and white grapes mixed together, but they're either clearly red or clearly white. The one place where it seems it's okay to do this is obviously in Champagne, where if you're going to make a rosé champagne, you're literally just staining the colour of a dry white champagne, which is why they call it rosé taché, which means to stain. Okay, there are exceptions which are made normally, which are called rosé saigné. Okay, so this is Atlantis Rosé, made by the lovely, charming, really charming Chris Blandy, who's I think 7th or even 8th generation Madeira producer on the Isle of Madeira, lives in Funchal, married to a lovely Swedish lady. It's an amalgamation of other famous Madeira estates over time. Cossart Gordon's has now been inculcated into the Blandy's clan. There are other names, of course. You've got Oliveros, you've got Justinius, you've got Henrique. There are lots of small producers producing this miraculous stuff, this fortified wine in Madeira, which is truly one of the greatest and immortal wines that will live forever. I know there's a vat of nearly 10 tons of wine in Chris Bandy's lodge, for want of a better word, Cantero, where I think he's still got, it's full with 1811 Boal, which he hasn't bottled yet, which is it's extraordinary. There's something so beyond in Madeira about their 45 wines that nothing comes close. It's extreme winemaking at its finest. But of course, they make tiny, tiny amounts. And the wines that you know about from Madeira are named after certain grape varieties. Malmsey, which used to be the super sweet, is made from Malvasia. You've got Seychelles, which is a variety in its own right, which makes the dry style. You've got Verdelieu, which is another grape variety. Boal, I can't remember. But anyway, the point is they're named after varieties which are very, very, very few and far between. There's like a tenth of an acre here and a 20th of an acre there, and there's 3 vines there. What they do have all over the entire island is a grape variety called Tinta Negra, or what used to be called Tinta Negra Mole, which I believe can be cropped twice a year, although that doesn't necessarily happen. But it's a much easier grape to grow. It's what all the sipping, sessioning Madeiras are made from, the cooking Madeiras, and even the basic ones. If you go to Blandy's range of the Duke of Clarence range, they're no longer called Seychelles, Malmsey. They can't be unless they're actually made from those varieties. So now there's sort of a dry, a medium dry, a medium sweet, and a sweet, so in the style of, okay. So this is, again, from Fells. Thank you very much again. It's 1530. This is a 2023 rosé, and it comes from a new DOP, a new denominación, I don't know how you say that in Portuguese, but it says Madeirense, or Madeirense, which must mean from the island of Madeira. And it's made from Tintenegro, which is a red variety. Again, if you take the grapes out after a few hours or a couple of days, I don't know how dark Tintenegro is or Tintenegro is, you end up with this beautiful kind of marine pink. I want to say marine pink. It looks like I don't know, a Picasso from the south of France or something on a holiday. I think I was said marine because I tried this once before. I actually was very fortunate to have tried this just after lockdown was it just after lockdown? I think it was, with Chris and my wife in a very fancy Michelin-starred French restaurant. And I remember thinking, it's like a glass full of sea in the nicest possible way. There's an unmistakable, minerally, briny whiff to this. It smells like fresh, sweet, dulse seaweed, but whistle clean, like kind of seaweed that you'd want to eat. Walking through a sushi restaurant, you get that smell of pickled burdock and sushi. There's that kind of sense of salinity hanging over this wine. Low in acid, but like your parallax is the tropics or Morocco. Okay, you're a long way down the world, one of the warmest wine regions in the world. Well, not warmest, but southerly. Of course, you've got the moderating Atlantic breezes, but it never gets that cold, right? I'm always amazed how delicious that is. How you can make a wine like perfect. Firstly, out of a variety that when I first started trying it, I think it just tasted like really cheap corn snacks, like those cheese puff footballs you get, kind of cheese bally taste. Like cheese, those little pillows you can buy in a pub that you go, oh, I wish I hadn't bought those. I should have got scampi fries instead. That kind of flavour. But this is actually deliciously clean. Has a wonderful taste of, has a faint whiff of fresh wild strawberry, fraise de bois. But then there's this kind of salted lemon, bit of pith, but it's gentle and textured. Wonderful fish wine. If you had that with a rice dish or with what's that? Those little pasta that they use. Is it feijoa? No, I can't remember. But they have them in Barcelona, and they use them in a sort of a octopus kind of risotto, but it's a pasta. You know what I'm talking about. Anything rice based or a little pasta made with sardines or oily fish, or in fact fish from the island, maybe scabbard fish with banana, which is the local delicacy. I wouldn't advise it. Okay, right. So that's two Iberian wines. One from, well, I don't know which way this is going to come to you, but yeah. That way. Okay. This is hard. I'm out of practice. Penedès up there, Madeira down there. Okay, where we're going next? We're going all the way down there. 6,000 miles. This is made at the famous Norma Radcliffe originally used to own this estate. This wonderful estate in prime time Stellenbosch, in Somerset and Stellenbosch. Really famous winery making beautiful wines. Norma Radcliffe then gave the estate over to his son, who got involved with that famous winemaker from Simi in California. I'm having a bit of a brain drain right now, but he's doing an incredible job with an estate with a brand and estate called Villamonte, getting celestial scores for his wines. But he took over from his mum at Warwick, and now it belongs to someone else. And this is called the First Lady Dry Rosé. It's 13.49 in Savannah, which is the South African sort of like shop where you go and buy your biltong and your green and orange shirts, green and yellow shirts. Or you can go online to Venum, 11.80. Hard to find wines, 12.99. I feel if a supermarket is on, you'd probably be looking at 9.99. But then again, of course, we're right at the cusp of the tax change. So let's call it 12 quid, okay? But so far, cheapest wine here. There are 24 rand to the pound, so it should be. And you know how much I support the cause in South Africa. They've had a real bum rap for the last 5 years, and they've had some incredible vintages. So here we've got a wine which is very similar in colour. It has a beautiful pink rose petal finish to it, though. And wines which have been used, I've had sparkling wines where they put 1 or 2% of this grape variety in there, and it produces this wonderful colour for sparklings too. And it's a grape variety which, whenever I taste it as a rosé, especially one made in a Provence style like this, I'm always brutally impressed. And I go, it can't be. It can't be. What is it? Well, It's Pinotage, right? This is a Pinotage rosé. I think that 70% of Pinotage would be better served made like this. The other 30% is really world class. Don't knock until you've tried it. Everything's changed. Wonderful. Chewy, toothsome, pithy. What would I have with this? Abalone or something, South African. Be great again with a game fish of some sort. Again, these nice plate of fish and chips from Fish Hook would be very, very nice. Sorry about the accent. Okay, right. So on to the last one. How are we doing for time? We're only 15 minutes in. I'm cool with this. Okay, right. This is from Baroni Ricasoli. Ricasoli, one of the greatest producers and one of the oldest standing families in Chianti Classico. I should have looked it up. It must say it somewhere. Although Albia, which is the name of this wine, which is named after the river that runs through it. Albia is a Toscana 2023 Toscana IGT Rosé. Rosé from Chianti, quite a rare thing, I think, but maybe it's becoming more popular. Obviously, by drawing the juice out of your vats of fermenting Sangiovese, you're making the vats left behind much more concentrated. There's less juice to stain with the skin, so you get a darker style of wine. So this may well be a classic Rosé Saignée to make a more premium Chianti Classico. I can't vouch for that, but that's a common use of rosé production. It's called Ricasoli Albia Rosé 2023. You can buy it from Venum at 15 quid. Paul Adams Fine Wines at 17.95. Look them up. Thanks again to Annie Lim and Fells. So we're finishing here. What's this made from? Sangiovese and Merlot. Two varieties which are heavily planted. Sangiovese obviously has been there forever. Merlot and Cabernet and Syrah planted a lot more recently. And probably does quite a nice job of polishing the slightly wild edges off Sangiovese, which can taste a bit Leon Perrin spicy. So what? So this would be nice with, like, I don't know, maybe a taco with picanha in it, with beef tacos, with pork carnitos, kind of those kind of meaty, fatty tacos would be delicious. Even an oily fish, maybe a tilapia taco. I don't know why I'm thinking Mexican food with this, but it just seems like that would be an absolute blinder with it. But of course, Italian food does have lots of mackerel, red snapper, pelagic fish in their diet. So again, wonderful seafood restaurant. You go in there, maybe some sea urchins with some spaghettini, cooked tosto, and garlic. Okay, I did say it was 15 quid, which is no more expensive than the others, but this is really fine rosé. The more I taste it, the more I like it. And it is not Provençal in style. It smells Provençal. It's got a smell of almost an apricot and orchard fruit, kind of raspberry, strawberry-ish kind of vibe about it. But in the mouth, it's got acidity. It's got zing. It's got a dusty herbiness to it. Lemon thyme in the mouth. Anyway, so they did me a favour. Fells looks like a one-stop shop for rosé to me. The other things they sent me Whiston rosé from the English Whiston sparkling wine producer, which I'd had before and not liked. Maybe I was unlucky, but my wife and I actually drank that in desperation the other night. Brilliant, absolutely delicious. And I know Whiston's flying high. They're rapidly becoming the elder statesman of one of the elder statesmen of English sparkling, because they were around since pretty much the beginning. And well done to Whiston. So Whiston rosé, if you want an English sparkling rosé to buy, I think it's mid £30, which is, I think, very fair compared to the price of some of the wines that are out in the UK at the moment. To recap, Jean Leon 3055, his New York taxi badge, Pinot Noir, and I think I said Garnacho. I think it might be Pinot Noir Merlot, I'm not sure. Okay, then we've got Atlantis, made from Tinta Negra, from Chris Brandy's estate. Just wonderful, and it's as briny as Atlantis might suggest. Then we've got Warwick, a very good repurposing of Pinotage, okay, but delicious. And this has been a label that you can have relied on since the late 80s. Absolutely amazing. And then we've got Albia at the end, which is a real surprise. Never had a Tuscan rosé before. Will do again. Thanks very much for watching. That's 20 minutes. I'm Wodsak. Peace.